fail and confidently navigate them with a challenger mindset. Now, that is what the Triad Masterclass represents. Now, what we do in these conversations on a monthly basis is an opportunity for us to bring people that have been able to excel in what they do, how they have done it, and give us the opportunity out there to, and shape with them. When you come in, just a quick one, house rules, make sure you are muted so that we can have an engaged conversation without distractions. We want to trust that we all will be able to do just that. Now, having said all that, today we are going to still be talking on same topic. We're going to be looking at navigating growth transitions in this series. And like I said, today is the first edition in 2025. And who else to open such a series, open up 2025 and help us to understand how to navigate, where to navigate, what are the things we most likely will be dealing with, and ensure that we are channeling the right energy where it ought to be. Now, you will agree with me that in 2025, as early as it is, a lot has happened. Change in government in the United States, we like it or not, they're a major player in geopolitics and what happens. Everybody's looking to the Trump's administration to say what is going to happen, what is he thinking, how is he playing it. Now, beyond Trump, coming back home, our government shared the budget, at least the federal government, and said, we're going to move our inflation rate, which is one of our biggest pains as a people, from over 33%, and that at the end time we'll be landing at the end of 2025, we're going to be at 15%. Huge, you would say. Is that possible, you would ask? But we have to navigate those options that stand before us. And that is why today I have the privilege to introduce first myself. I am Aigbe Fosa. If you are still wondering, who is this man talking? And I play in the technology space. And I am happy this morning to host one of my seniors in engineering and one of my seniors in the technology space. And it's no other person than Sir Philip Obioha. Sir Philip Obioha is not just the chairman of the Computerware Group, PLC, or what you know as CWG, as most of us will call it. He is an accomplished technology operations service professional with over 30 years of cognitive experience in the information, communication, and technology services industry. He is the co-founder and chairman of the board of directors of CWG, Computer Warehouse Group, whose stocks was one of the best performing stocks in 2023. You heard that. He's also the chairman of Ambulatory Surgery Center of Lagos. Ambulatory Surgical Center is actually an upcoming medical firm, and is also the chairman of Amafield Limited, which is an investment firm. Man of many hats, you would say. Now, before all of this, Philip had worked as the chief operating officer of CWG. At CWG as COO, he led the communications division of the company to become the foremost provider of wide area communications that enabled the local banking industry to start offering branchless and online banking services to customers. He oversaw the geographical diversification of the group with the establishment of subsidiary companies in Ghana, in Uganda, and in Cameroon. So if you are looking to talking about internationalization today, Sir Philip is also going to be able to share some thoughts on how to navigate. Now, as chief operating officer, he also oversaw the institutionalization of the organization. He implemented systems, he implemented processes, that led to the eventual listing of the organization at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. He's a trained electrical engineer with specialization in digital electronics at the West Virginia University in the United States of America. He also holds an MBA from the Lagos Business School and the International Graduate School of Management, IESE, in Navarra, Spain. He's currently pursuing his doctorate degree. Sir Philip was conferred with the Titan of Tech Award by Technology Africa in 2015. He's a fellow of the Institute of Directors, fellow Institute of Information Management, a member of the Institute of Electrical Electronics Engineers, IEEE, in the United States of America, and also a member of the Nigerian Computer Society, NCS. Mr. Obioha has a passion for the real estate industry and has founded the 4CGs Limited and managed offices. They are into managed service, the manage offices, real estate development, and service firms, respectively. This morning, with a triad applause, join me to welcome our guest for today's conversation, Navigating Growth Opportunities, Sir Philip Obioha, Chairman, Computer Warehouse Group, PLC, as he shares some experience with us. You are welcome, Sir Philip.
No, thank you, Costa. Thank you for that wonderful introduction, and thank you for having me to share my experiences.
Awesome. All right, so if you are ready, I'm ready, and we can just dig in already.
Please go ahead.
All right. So when just before we all joined, so we're having a short conversation, and Jumoke was sharing some of the highlights around what makes today's edition particularly very interesting for her. She shared the fact that your organization was very, very pivotal in the number of firsts in the industry. I want to take just roll back to what did it mean, or what does it mean? Just starting from there, what does it mean to have all of these accolades? How do you manage all of these things? Seeing the many firsts, the many things that you, the organizations you lead, have been able to achieve. Maybe we can start the conversations from there.
Well, thank you. Once again, Professor. From where I sit, because I'm looking at a very small company that started long ago in 1992. We only know what we've achieved by what people may tell us. We started in 1992, like I said, as a very small company in the Surulere area then, and with little capital that we were able to raise. We grew organically for a long time until we had a PE firm invest, I think, in 2012 or so. But the important thing is that from day one, we tried to put in a lot of governance into place. We had a dream, and the dream was one day we'll get listed at NASDAQ. That hasn't come true, but we were able to list, like you mentioned, at the Nigerian Stock Exchange. So we had a lot of governance policies in place that guided our operations, and we grew, small by small, diversifying in response to the market needs, what the market needed. We started up as a hardware infrastructure company, then selling everything that came our way, gateway computers, Dell computers, a couple of them, but eventually we honed on and settled for only Dell as the hardware platform then. But as the market was evolving, banks were growing, there was a need to interconnect a lot of the desktop then. Laptops were very few. And we started another company. We started another company called GCC Network, which was focused on interconnecting appliances then. And somewhere along the line, 2 years, a year and a half later, we incorporated the software arm of the business called Expert Edge Software and Systems, to focus on financial solutions to the banks. So with DCC, eventually went into satellite the communication, and with Expert Edge, they formed a very strong alliance with Infosys of India. We started implementing the Finacle banking package here in Nigeria. As today, I think we have about 18 banks that is running on Finacle. The latest being GTB, which has been tough and turbulent because of the size of the bank. So in a nutshell, that's what the company is. We've evolved with the market, and we try to address the market need. And why the diversification? The diversification is to take out the bulk passing. When some new banks, when they're starting up and they have so many service providers providing services to them, you have different people doing hardware infrastructure, some people doing the communications, and some people doing the software. At times you have issues in integrating all this to provide a seamless service. So what we did was to try to take out the headache from the CIOs of those financial institutions by being a one-stop shop to be able to offer all these services across. But that was why we diversified, at least on the technology. But as we move on, we talk about other diversification we've been able to take on.
Awesome. Thank you so much. I think that in itself is enough to just build that conversation. Looking at diversification, and I think something that hits me in what you were saying was the fact that you were driven by what the market needed. The market itself was the directional beacon that determined where you played and how you played. And it was also jet towards value because you were trying to take away the pain points of the CIOs in such a way that you make life easier for them and make them focus more on what was their core business, so to say. Awesome. So I think for our conversation today, we'll just be driving it along some particular directions. We will particularly look at how to navigate growth. We'll start from where you are, technology. Then we'll go into diversification, which you did talk about. What are the transitions we need in those kind of systems? Then, of course, what it means to lead, especially in a system or a sector that today this is the norm and tomorrow the standard changes, and where the desires continue to change, especially because we are a very young economy, not just young economy, we're a very young nation, because 50 to 60% of our populations are actually very young people, and their desires are continually changing. Then we'll land with industry insight and broader impacts as to what you think we should be doing from an industry perspective. So maybe I'll just dive right in and just ask you this first question, and it goes back to how you have navigated growth in technology. You seem to have spoken a bit about it, but I think to press more. And the question is, as a co-founder and as chairman of CWG, what were those key decisions that helped the company to achieve this growth and performance, especially what you did in 2023 as one of the best performers of the stock exchange?
Okay, yeah. So first, I would like to say that the performance of the company is brought about by a combination of several factors, which has to be in place at the same time. Starting with the leadership of the company, the executives who are down there in the trenches, executing the strategy that has been agreed, within a period of time, and the strategy, of course, the strategy is normally agreed by the board, but are the guys doing the day-to-day job, and the staff of the company. So, and I will normally say that the most important decision is the keeping of our staff motivated and engaged, because they're the most important asset, that the company has. Specifically, what we did within that period was to scale out our IPs. Sometime, I think 5 years back, we decided to change the model of the company a bit, moving away from the traditional brick and mortar business, to focus on high growth margin businesses, to in view of our inflationary environment. So we started to develop a lot of our IPs. We have a lot of IPs which are developed in-house, like for example, for the micros and finance banks, we have our own software, which has been deployed to about 15 or so of them within that period. So we had a couple of IPs which we started, and the focus within that period was to scale those IPs, to go ahead and scale the sales of those IPs. To scale the scope of those IPs and sell them. So that is why, because I think that the market looks at what we are doing, your control over what you are doing, or of course the margins, how profitable those things that you are doing is. And part of what we also do internally to make sure that will I say beat inflation, is that as a listed company, our numbers are in Naira. The numbers we post at the exchange is in Naira. But internally, we decided that we had to know whether we were growing or not. So we started to benchmark our operations against the dollar. So for example, if you did 1 billion Naira yesterday, let's say 2 years ago, and you did 2 billion Naira this year, internally, we wouldn't say that we've grown, say, 100%. We look at what the value of the dollar is within that period. With the inflation that we have, especially the jump between 2023. Yeah. So you see that even if you made 2 billion, you have not, in fact, you've lost value if you check it. So in Naira terms, you've doubled, but in dollar terms, you probably dwindled, because of the exchange rate at that point. So we also started to do that internally to check and to make sure that that our operations and what protocol was beating the inflation. So I think all those had a role to play in our performance. I think the market was seeing all those things, and we were rewarded by the growth of our shares. I think it was in 2023 that our shares grew most. For a long time it was steady, but it's a change in direction of the business, the focus, and of course, like I said, the people. If you don't have the people, then those are the most important assets apart from the things you sell.
So if I hear you right, the people was important, leadership was also very vital in driving what you were able to achieve. And I think I like your measurement tools, because of course we are told again and again, anything you cannot measure, you can't control. And benchmarking against the dollar was a very smart way to ensure that you had a kind of a benchmark or an equilibrium that told you, am I growing or not? Am I just having numbers that amounts to nothing? Maybe just the devaluation has just made me grow and nothing more has happened, nothing special. And I think that that measurement tool it's very, very key. And I think it's a good learning point that those of us listening out there this morning should pick. You need to measure. If you can't measure, you can't control. But I want to go back to one of the things you mentioned, leadership. Now, and I'm going to focus on you this time, and I'm going to say, Sir Philip, how did your leadership contribute to enabling local banking industry, especially that aspect where it was you guys sitting down with the banks to say it is possible to be branchless, it is possible to do online banking services? How did you do that?
Yeah, okay. Again, you said my leadership, yes, but it was the team. It was a teamwork within the organization. Except that I was overseeing the communications arm, then called GCC. These names don't exist anymore, because we merged the three operating arms, the three companies, which were actually different companies, under the same group. We made them some time ago because of tax purposes. We were advised that it was more efficient to operate them under like a departmental structure, but then it was GCC, and it was under my leadership. And like I said earlier, what we look out for, you look at the trend, the market trend, you look at where the market is, you look at what the market wants, you know. So initially, DCC started off with local and metropolitan area networks, you know, but we had to go into satellite, the communication, to enable banks implement their centralized database, you know, because what satellite does is that local is just within a certain area. Metropolitan area networks is probably just within a town, but with satellite, you can hop from Dadinkowa up in the north and land in Lagos. You know, that is a bit of satellite. So we had to go into, it was high-tech business. We had to go into it to allow the banks to centralize database, because before then, you have to go to your branch. They will bring out one printout.
Logbook.
Cabal, customer balances. And they'll bring it out and they will check your balance to be able to pay you. So we had to overcome that. Some people tried out what they call these lines from NITEL then, you know, but you know how efficient NITEL was. So we had to go into the satellite communication. And with that, we started to implement centralized banking applications. And of course, on the other hand, our sister company, Expert Edge, was doing the banking part. And our infrastructure company, DWL, was doing the infrastructure part, you know. So we were able to do that. And with that, we started talking about branchless banking, which means, you know, people, the young people now, they don't know what we went through. Because
we used to sit down and take tallies.
Yeah, branchless banking, which means from wherever you are, you can do whatever you want.
Do your banking, yeah.
Now it has even gone further that through your phone. Whether you're in the US or in South Africa or whatever, through your phone, you can make your payments and that, you know. But that was the start of branchless banking. A couple of companies, I can remember like two of them, GS Telecom, DCC, and one other company. You know, so we went into it. Like I said, it was high tech. It was difficult, but we were able to achieve that. And I could remember at the stage we had about 18 banks on our satellite platform. We were carrying the traffic of 18 banks on our satellite networks. You know, taking them from all the branches to the center. Not normally the head office, which is where you had the centralized database. So if you go to Dadinkawa, you cash money. You go to Enugu, the next 1 minute, the balance is
able to cash. Yeah.
Exactly. You know, so that's what we do. That's what we did. So the group had a three-pronged growth strategy through hardware infrastructure, like I mentioned earlier, software and communication, under the three brand names: Computer Warehouse Limited, Expert Edge, and DCC Networks. And we're all playing a part. But in terms of the branches network, it was DCC that provided that the connectivity.
Now, I think hearing you talk about the journey moving from where we were before, where you can't go to any other branch, you must go to your own branch. I just recall now, I had a first bank account somewhere in Uyo, and I'm thinking, so I needed some money. So that means I would have had to travel to Uyo to withdraw my money if this didn't happen. So it's such an interesting work, and I see the interesting dimensions you play. That there was the hardware part, there was the software, and there was communication. Was there any reason why communication was the third leg to it?
Yes, because you needed to, you know, in fact, what is driving ICT now is communication. The internet, the communication was very key to whatever we were doing. This year it wasn't, but like I said, when it became, because it was strong. Like I said, if you were living at Enugu, you visited Lagos, you wanted to cash money, it was possible. You need to go back to Enugu to go and cash your money and bring it to Lagos. So it was key. to the growth of the whole financial ecosystem. I'd like to add something just by the side.
Not a problem.
The satellite business actually gave me sleepless nights. What I mean by that, whenever it was raining those days, I would probably just wake up, because we always had this lightning problems. When lightning strikes your main, it's called the net station, everything will go down. Can you imagine like 18 bands being down,
going down,
and they're not able to work? The pressure, I just wanted to.
No, I think that's interesting, because, just talking about it with the fluidity of describing what was achieved, sometimes we miss out of this important part but we didn't sleep. We had to stay awake to achieve this. We had to do this. These little nuances are critical, because I'm very sure that most of the people listening to us today, in the areas that they are dealing with, have the values that they are trying to deliver, but with pains. And sometimes they wonder, is it worth the headache? And as you can hear from Sir Philip, yes, he had to pray and hope that thunder does not bring down the satellite, so that the banks don't go crying. And of course, it comes back to his SLA, comes back to customer satisfaction, and they might just walk and say, this thing is not working.
Again, I would like to add, it's interesting. Plans are good. You must have your plan. You must plan not to fail. You must plan and have redundancies in your systems in one way or the other. But that doesn't mean that things will go exactly the way it was planned. So you just need to have contingency plans. For example, for the satellite Earth station, it comes with what they call a radio frequency thing. And they normally will implement two, so that if one goes down, you put in redundancy.
Have an alternative.
If one goes down, the other one takes off. But when lightning comes, lightning will normally clear the two at the same time, because they're headed to the ground at the same time.
Okay.
So you can see that this is what the theory says, this is what the plan says, but it doesn't actually work
that way.
Where it works out in most places, like, for example, we've done a lot in MTN. We're a very strategic partner to them. And we have servers, what we call mission critical servers that don't go down. When you make a call, there's a server that picks up your call and keeps the record. That record is sent into the billing system that generates your bill. So these servers, mission critical systems, they don't go down. They're designed not to go down. So that works out well. So they have so many processes, and you can replace parts, and it is still
work.
So if you look at MTN number and you divide it by 365, it will give you an idea of what they is public knowledge. So just imagine the server going down, even for an hour, what the loss will be.
I don't think that we want to imagine that, because that would be a catastrophe. I think I remember there was a day I left the house and forgot my phone. For the moment that I had to go back getting the phone, it was as if I was ostracized from life, because I can just imagine if that kind of situation happens. Awesome. Now, what you have shared so far, from dealing with the fears of satellites going down, ensuring that you had redundancy, but in actual fact, some of these things might have things that may not just be there in the theory. Now, for African tech entrepreneurs, what are the lessons, perhaps, why we're trying to close up these areas on technology, how you've grown through technology, what perhaps from your experience moving into Ghana, Uganda, Cameroon, what exactly could you point as lessons that other tech entrepreneurs, maybe not just tech entrepreneurs, people that want to grow their business international, beginning with Africa, especially with the fact that we now have the act that enables, supposedly is supposed to make us have businesses grow in Africa, right? What would be the lessons from your own expansion into these countries that they
Okay.
can learn?
Okay, so first of all, we started with diversification because our experience. Like I said, we started in 1992, and a few months after that, we had the Obioha riots. We brought everything to a halt. And we started thinking about disaster recovery and how do we ensure some critical services do not suffer. So that was what we to look at Ghana, as a place to diversify into, apart from growing your business, but to make sure that the services we're offering, that we can keep offering it, even if we are affected where we are locally, not necessarily by riots only. So, but the approach we took initially was, I would say, wrong. We ignored our liability of foreigners. This word I picked up during my DBA class, but basically by sending Nigerians to occupy all the positions in the new economy, that is what we did. Liability of foreigners. So from the CEO to entry levels, liability of foreigners refers to the disadvantage which a foreign firm coming to another country, so like cultural regulatory challenges and potential discrimination. So after days of losses, we had to for a Ghanaian. We understood what we had to have a Ghanaian to lead the company. In between, we explored the merger with a Ghanaian firm, the technology firm, but again, that didn't work out the way we wanted. We were more aggressive on the average and approached sales differently. In our corporate was slightly different. So we eventually got a Ghanaian to lead the company. So we seeded the customer-facing position to Ghanaians and held back office positions like finance. So that is one great thing we learned. That worked out well. However, in Uganda, even though we employed in Uganda from day one, after learning our lesson, but that didn't guarantee success for the company until we got a competent, focused CEO who started performing wonders for the company. So it's a combination of two factors. One is it has to be a competent CEO who is a local, with local customer-facing staff, So here are some of the most important things to consider generally when going global. Operation, decide how you want to structure your business overseas. Are you going to just establish a branch, or are you going to have a subsidiary company? Depending on what you're doing. If you're just a sales company, you just want to sell some things from here to that day, you can get to having a branch, but if you're looking at full-fledged operations, then you need to have a proper subsidiary, that will do some other things within the company to sell. If it's a solution, it has to be a localized one. You need to look at what is required in that market that you are going into. The second one is hiring. Decide on how you want to fill up the vacant spaces. Like I said, local and foreign. So some positions have to be depending on but I think it will apply in most African countries. Having locals in certain positions and then foreign staff in certain positions. Then, of course, you need to look at your pay structure. What you do locally here might not apply exactly where you are going. You need to look at the standard of living and so many other things. And they have, in some places like in Uganda, they have strong HR rules. You can't employ people as you can't staff. You can't have contract staff in Uganda, I believe so. Yeah, I remember. You can't have contract staff, unlike here. Here, you can designate some staff as contract, except that they can be contract staff more than, I think, 2 years or 3 years. I can't remember. But in Uganda, it's a different ballgame. So we also need to look at the compliance issues within those organizations, tax issues and compliance issues. So these are some of the important things to consider when going in the global. But the key thing starts with, your staffing, how you go about it.
I think I can share some interesting experience with that staffing thing. So sometime back, I was in a project in Côte d'Ivoire, and so we got some new hires, and of course we were under probation. And at some point, I felt one of them wasn't the right fit and all of that. So for me, after all, he's still under probation. We should just allow him to go. And that was my first touch with compliance, especially with local rules, labor laws, and all of that. And they had to call me and said, "You young man, come. Yeah, you just don't do this. You need to show proof that you have supported them to be able to fit into, because after all, you were not forced to employ them. Employing them meant that you felt they were fit. So if they certainly are not delivering on what is happening, then you need to ask yourself if you have actually given a type of support that could really help them deal with that. And so your thoughts, especially on why staffing is very important, and also following compliance processes in your locality or wherever you find yourself, it's, I think, very interesting. And I think I totally agree with you on those points. But I think when it comes to structure of business, sometimes it's, for me, it's a bit tricky. Maybe time will afford us to go back there. But let me see if we have any questions. I see Jumoke has already reminded us that we can drop our questions in the chat. So let's see if we already have any questions before we move to the second part of our conversation, which is about strategic transition and diversification. Okay, just to help us, if you have questions, just drop them in the chat. I will pick them up as we continue in this conversation. Once again, thank you for joining us in January's edition of Navigating Growth Transition. Our guest once again is Sir Philip Obioha. Is the chairman of the Computer Warehouse Group, or CWG as we most popularly call them. And he's been talking to us about growth of the group, how they transitioned, some of the things they do in terms of trying to keep a high performance, including benchmarking their performance in dollar because of the Nigerian system, where you have a constantly changing situation with regards whether it is inflation or the currency exchange and all of that. And of course, he has also shared with us that for various reasons, they had to merge their three different arms that they were operating with at some point into a single entity, and that in trying to build the organization and help the banking industry to move from what we used to call branch kind of banking to branchless and online banking services, they had a combination of hardware, software, and communication as a way to deliver on this. And like he said, this did not come without its challenges, because every time he trained, for instance, he had to hold his heart in his hands. But today is a success story, and he's still sharing with us. If you're just joining us, we will be talking in the next few minutes about strategic transitions and diversification. Specifically, we'll be looking at how Sir Philip's role transitioning within the organization from different roles is head, and how he has approached diversification. Now, if you joined at the beginning, you will notice that he talked about how and why they have continuously diversified according to the needs in the business and the marketplace. And so in this section, we're going to be looking more into those kind of conversation to dig into their diversification story and understand what also are the challenges they have faced or may still be facing in institutionalizing the CWG group to get or to stay where they envision it to be. Mind you, they still have the goal of being listed on NASDAQ. So if you think NSC is something, they are still coming. So back to you, Sir Philip. Thank you for being our guest this morning. It's been an interesting time hosting you. So I'll go to my first question with regards to strategic transitions and diversification. I see that at some point you were the chief operating officer, but today you are the chairman of CWG. Now, how has these two roles or these different roles you have had to hold within the organization shaped your perspective on leadership? I will put it in two ways, actually. How has it shaped your perspective? Then two, how were you, because oftentimes when I discuss with most founders of organizations, they tell me that the biggest problem they have is letting go. So maybe you combine those two in one answer. How has the role from COO to see a chairman of CWG worked for you? How has it shaped your leadership perspective? And secondly, how did you learn to let go?
Okay, thank you. Apart from what inspired my transition, apart from fatigue, because we retired, there's a COO, there was a COO at well, Mr. Nemosino, and who is the founder. And fatigue, for one, but we got to say where we had to change our model. And I mentioned changing our business.
Yeah.
From the traditional business of adding value to OEM products, we are basically an integrator, what you call systems integrator. You get different products, you cover a solution from it, and you deliver to a customer. And we're selling the integrated solutions to customers to build our platform and investing in our own PM. So we started focusing on our own platforms and investing in our own IPM, our own IP. Because what we were doing before, part of what first of all the margins we were doing. First of all, we left the like I said, we started with laptop in 1992. After a few years, 4 years, we dropped off that business because every time Dick and Harry was bringing in laptop. That is, they travel, they bring in laptops to come and sell. So there was it was a waste of time. So again, because of margins, we started moving from the traditional business of selling OEM products and integrating them and selling to building up our own platforms and investing in our own IPs. And this was in response to rapid change in technology and the gradual acceptance of locally developed software in Nigeria. Because long time ago, actually, as far back as 1994, we had what they call remote electronic banking, which one or two banks used then, but the banks were more focused on foreign software. There was this strong mindset. You have the same thing. The bank is ready to pay you 10 naira if it's a local software. If it's a foreign one, they're ready to pay you 1 million dollars. So we started playing down on that part. But with the gradual acceptance, we went back to building a lot of those software. So that was part of the change. So the mantle of leadership was given to someone who had a deep understanding of software and software development, and they already started developing some products under the Expert Ed brand. So that was what informed the transition. I started out in the company as an engineer, and then as an engineer for then an operations person supporting the CEO then. The CEO, I was still guiding the communication arm of the business on engineering, which was my core, on related issues. The time spent as an executive in the company exposed me to a lot of the areas of the business, both on the technical, sales, HR, and finance aspects of the business. Everything was under the CEO except sales, and this came to play a key role on collaborating with the current management and guiding the board through supporting their strategic initiative. I understand the business very well. The HR experience and the leadership role of the CEO, which are the most full aspect of the company except sales, also plays a crucial role on the leadership of the board. Because leadership within an organization, leadership at the board, they're similar. The only thing is that at the board level, you are leading the board and you have a lot of both internal and external stakeholders. You have the internal, you have the board, you also liaise with the stakeholders, which are also important because in a company has stakeholders, not just the shareholder, So the role, the leadership role as a CEO also gives a lot of leverage in terms of leading a board.
Awesome. Thank you. So just following that and drawing from the diversification, because I see that even as a person, you have to diversify your capabilities and delve into areas that ordinarily were not your turf, from engineering, understanding eventually finance, and all of the components of leading in the organization. How has that shaped your approach to diversification, especially given that you now play in different sectors, technology, healthcare, real estate?
Okay.
These, yeah, just go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, first of all, I personally believe in diversification. We had what we call that the diversification within the discipline. What I mean is, we had the software, we had the communication, and we had then we also went into geographical diversification. As an individual, I feel strongly that people should diversify, because in fact, what we saw was that within the organization, we had years where DCC would do very well. The expert age company will not do as well, or the CWL company will do very well, and the other one will not do very well. So within that group, if you now put everything into a basket, it's just like mutual funds for people in finance. Mutual fund, you have a basket of stocks, some will do well, some will not do well, and things like that. So I applied the same thing to myself, and what I started doing is I became a silent real estate investor. You make 2 naira, you take 1 naira and put in real estate, so that if tomorrow there's a problem with the organization, and I know we've had a rough periods as well within the organization, then you have some other things to fall back in. And real estate is one of the areas people go in as basically as silent investors. On ambulatory, I don't have experience in the medical field,
Okay.
but I happen to be in the position where a younger brother is building a big hospital here in Lekki, so I'm guiding them in terms of leadership on the board level. I'm not involved with the operation, so it's basically like an advisory board, and I'm guiding them different interests in the company and what they're doing. So the real estate is mainly not formal, though I had an opportunity to do. I'm still in it, but it's not something I do as a job or on a day-to-day basis. So I've always been, for a long time now, a silent investor in the real estate. Yeah. So I believe in diversification, and I will also advise the younger ones. Apart from real estate, you also need to look at even on your finances, even cash. You diversify. It's good to have naira. It's good to have other things. So that if this currency is not doing well today, maybe tomorrow, I won't mention any currency. Tomorrow, the other one might also do well. So, you just have those
balance. Yeah.
Balance and diversification. That I think it helps.
All right. I think this has been very exciting. I'll pull you back a bit back into the industry, the tech industry. I'll come back to resilience and adaptability maybe year after, as we are rounding up. So now, what do you think about the future of the ICT sector in Nigeria, particularly then in Africa? And for players in the industry, what do you think is the best way to position oneself to be in the lead?
Okay, we are looking at
industry insight and broader impacts.
Okay. If you look at this, first of all, if you look at the size of the economy and even the emerging economy, irrespective of what has happened to our naira, and then you now look at the role that ICT plays in every segment of the economy, because you have ICT in every segment of the economy. To give you a quick idea of what the future opportunities are, specifically as the government focuses on being more efficient by digitizing its operations. I just did something with some people in Dubai, and they are so impressed when they talk about e-government, almost everything is digital. You can do a lot of things, online with them. You can do a lot of things. You can sign online. You can get away instead of going to court to go and do this and that. So they've gone far. They gap. We still have a lot of gap here. There are some roads into it, but the gap is still very wide. So the future of the IC sector in Nigeria looks promising, driven by several key trends and opportunities. The first one is the connectivity, the increased the connectivity. The expansion of the internet will get more people connected, and this will drive the demand for digital services and solutions. We see that happening. See a lot of fintech companies coming up. You see a lot of services, online services that are available. People are doing a lot of things online. In fact, I'm sure if you want to order Amala online now, they'll probably deliver it to your doorsteps. Many industries will continue to strive for better efficiencies by integrating technology, that's another one, into their operations. Technology and efficiency goes hand in hand, and this will create opportunities for ICT businesses to provide innovative solutions. So as the economy grows, you have more industries, they're going to innovate more, they're going to want more efficiency, there's going to be a lot of more opportunity for ICT companies. Then the e-commerce growth, this is an interesting one, which is changing a lot of things here. The rise of e-commerce is set to continue, fueled by changing consumer behavior and increased smartphone and tablet penetration. This presents opportunities for logistics, payment solutions, and digital marketing. I was told by someone that, in fact, I think some normal companies are doing that, like Global. You have a lot of people, the young people that work now, they don't go to the market. They don't have time to go to the market. So they have logistics arrangement where things are bought for them and they're shipped to their houses instead of going to them. So the e-commerce is broad and it's affecting a lot of things, and it's still set to grow. And that, again, will provide a lot of opportunities for ICT companies. Then fintech innovations. Nigeria is in the forefront of fintech innovation in Africa. This sector is likely to grow further with innovations in banking and payment systems more prevalent. I know of a big bank, recent big bank, they've come up with, they're going to roll out a fintech, I don't know what to call it, a bank payment system, but they've signed a $5 million contract for the applications that are going to it. So we're yet to see a lot in this space and opportunities also in this space. Then the other one is remote work. Remote work has always been there as well, but the COVID-19 has revolutionized remote work worldwide. So this towards remote work will drive the collaboration and productivity, tools. So collaboration and productivity tools creating opportunities for software development and IT services. People into those software collaboration and productivity tools, because of the remote work opportunities that we have there and still growing. Then fraud. With the internet and the online services come a lot of fraud. So cyber security is another area. As digital adoption increases, so will the need for cyber security solutions to protect businesses and consumers from threat. So there are a lot of opportunities in cyber security solutions that ICT companies can go into. Then investment in infrastructure, further investment in telecom infrastructure and renewable energy to support ICT, particularly in underserved areas. We have 5G here. If you go further away to the in Lagos State, to the boundaries, you will still get 4G. But if you go to the villages, what you get there is probably 2G or 1G.
Yeah.
So there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of the rollout of IT infrastructure, especially in unreserved areas. A lot of investment still has to come in there, and it provides a lot of opportunities for ICT companies. ICT companies play a very role in the telecom infrastructure. We used to have, for example, we used to have Huawei doing it now. Got the contract, that was last year, but we used to have 120 engineers at MTN. When I mean 100, they resume and they close at MTN on a daily basis under what we call the managed services. They have a lot of infrastructure, you know. What's their name? Emerson. Emerson, what's the name of Ericsson had the same, also had the same managed services for on the telecom side. We were on the IS side. Yes, you have the IS side and you have the telecom side. So we had about 120 engineers. So there's a lot of businesses within that space in terms of what they're doing for the telephones to continue with. Then the other one is e-government initiatives. Like I said, you don't feel like Dubai, they almost digitize everything. And for our government to improve our operational efficiencies and improve the ease of doing business in Nigeria, we will need to digitize more. We need to do more in the government space, you know, to be able to improve our ease of doing business. So the government decides to do more in that space to create a lot of opportunity in different areas, you know, from digitizing paper tools. There's so many other things. So in positioning, how do we position ourselves? ICT companies can position themselves to benefit from these opportunities during the following. Companies should foster a culture of innovation and remain adaptable to changing technologies and market needs, because we're in a fast-paced sector. Things are changing fast, and so you need to have a way of innovating, have a culture of innovation and be fast in adapting to the changing needs. Local solutions. ICT companies should focus on developing products and services tailored to local needs and cultural contexts with a better understanding of the African market. So this will give local companies within the African market a lot of a competitive advantage over foreign firms, because we understand it and you focus on that. Like in Kenya, where they come up with the money, the mobile money thing.
The
mobile money was the local thing, focused on the African market, and they made a very great success.
A lot of money. Yeah.
So this can provide a competitive advantage. Then we need to form strategic
alliances,
partnerships, yes, with local and international players, including tech companies, you know, government bodies, etc., to enhance our capabilities and market reach. Doing that, we position our to better face the future and take the opportunities that arise. Of course, building a skilled workforce to take advantage of the opportunities when they present themselves is essential, because in technology, skills is key. Business should train their staff and equip them with the necessary skills. Leverage data analytics to gain insights into customer preferences and market trends to enhance decision-making on service offering. Like I say, we always respond. It's good to position yourself to respond to market needs so you can address those needs, customer pain points, and then get to be a trusted advisor to them. Enhance customer experience to differentiate yourself and position the company for the evolving opportunities by service excellence. You know, join advocacy groups for policy support. Engage policy makers to advocate for supportive regulation and policies that foster ICT growth and investment. If you leave the government to just come up with policies, regulatory policies, at times they're anti-growth policy. So, but when you join a advocacy group and you work with government, you can help them cut and come up with a policy that will actually drive growth and make everyone, you know, because the government is happy when the economy grows to get more tax revenue, etc. So explore emerging technologies like blockchain, IoT, all those are coming, Internet of Things and artificial intelligence, and consider integrating them into existing business models. You know, so those are there, and the opportunities that they bring will soon present themselves. So the earlier we embrace it and understand it and incorporate them into our business models, the better for us. By adopting this strategy, businesses in Nigeria and Africa as a whole can position themselves to lead in the ICT sector, driving growth and innovation while contributing to the region's economic.
Thank you so much, sir. I see that we are beginning to get some questions from the group. We'll come back to that. But I picked up on one of the things you said when you said it's important to join advocacy group, especially for policy support, because government has its nuances for building its policies, and except we are able to be part of that process, we might just find ourselves submerged in the wrong places. So that brings me to my next questions, because you actually unbundled a lot that I think that beyond ICT players, and which is I think one of the questions we are beginning to have. We'll come back about. I wanted you to quickly talk to me about, in your opinion, how important it is, going by that your advocacy group that you said we should join, to collaborate between private firms and government in trying to drive industry growth, whether it's the ICT or any industry at all.
Okay, in my view, it's not even possible to have a meaningful industrial growth without the collaboration of government with the private sector, because they can kill you with their policies. We require the government to craft enabling policies that will create an enabling environment for businesses to thrive and for the private sector to drive industrial growth. Let's start with financial support. For example, government is in a position to provide funding, grants, and incentives to help private firms scale their operations without excessive financial burden. This they normally do where they want to grow a particular sector, within the economy, so they can offer financial support. Then private firms can bring in specialized skills and knowledge, while government offer insights into regulatory frameworks and public needs in growing an economy. Then they can both partner under a PPP arrangement and infrastructure development, especially like transport systems, roads, and things like that. They can really partner. Government will give the rights, and then the private firm can go in, raise money, and execute it under a PPP agreement. So that collaboration is key, very, very key. Then you have collaboration that can help shape policies that foster a conducive business environment, ensuring the regulations are practical and supportive of the business. This is what I mentioned earlier on the other question. So it is key that they collaborate so that at the end of the day, you have a conducive business environment, which ensures regulations are practical and supportive of business. So the private firm or private companies are happy, and the government will benefit from having a larger economy. Then PPP arrangements again can be used to drive research and development initiatives. This is done a lot abroad, leveraging government resources and private sector innovation to create new technologies. During the COVID, that's partly what happened. The US government provided a lot of funds to, I think, Pfizer and Moderna. The guys that made those vaccines.
Those vaccines,
yeah. There are a lot of funding in it, So the government provided the resources, and the private sector provided the skills and innovation, to create these new vaccines. So that is another area. Then you have government and also private firms access new markets internationally, trade agreements and partnerships. That also happens, the US government does that a lot. Our government, I think that they have incentive they created for export. We are trying to move on our export. So government can actually assist private firms access new markets, through those trade agreements and partnerships. I think there's something called AGOA that has to do with the US. The AGOA trade agreement. So joint initiatives can be a long vision for economy that has the interest of ensuring sustainable development and prosperity. Collaborative projects of lead to integration, which is very key. Infrastructure and expanding increase employment opportunities and economic growth. Job creation won't headache any government anywhere in the world normally now. So we have those collaboration, it leads to job growth, because of the through infrastructure and services expansion, leading to employment opportunities and so in effect, collaboration between private and government is crucial for growth by pulling resources and networks and more than and not gain.
Thank you so much. I hope I am still audible, and we'll be speaking with Philip Obioha. So I see we have some questions already down on the chat. So I'll just quickly take them before we move to maybe the concluding part of our conversation today. Now I have a message from a question from Shola Oni. I have one from Adejumoke. Then I have one from Ugochukwu. I might need to put them together, but let me put the first two together. Now, Shola Oni is saying that this is a very interesting and enlightening session, and he would like to know how non-techies like him can get involved through investment. That's investment in the ICT sector, or according to him, are these opportunities only for nerds and whiz kids? That's the question from Shola Oni.
My network froze a bit.
I think it's looking so maybe if you can off your video for a while and let's see if the audio gets better.
Okay.
All right, so let's try now.
Okay.
But did you get the question? I should take it again.
Please take it again. It was freezing.
All right. So we have some questions from the chat. So Shola Oni was asking how some of these opportunities I've talked about. I think it was particularly when you were talking about what the future holds for the ICT industry and where we could play. So he was asking whether these opportunities are only for the ICT players or non-techies organizations or players in the non-technology space can also build on this.
Okay, very interesting question. No, if you go through, if you look at the opportunities I referred to, you find out that things like e-commerce, the e-commerce group provides opportunity for logistics company. So if you're in that space, you benefit from the growth in the e-commerce group. And even it provides an opportunity for people to also put out their wares online. You have a lot of people selling things now online. All those are opportunities. So it's not just the IT. What ICT does in all these things is basically to provide the connectivity. No, it's actually to provide the infrastructure. The infrastructure, that is the system that make it work. But in terms of the logistics, the product, and everything that goes into it, it's a lot of other industries who benefit from it. So it's not just restricted to ICT.
All right. So
if you look at investment in infrastructure, for example, if you're an SME that is into cement business or whatever, and they're talking about roads, you see there's a lot of opportunities for other industries or sectors to benefit from the investment in infrastructure. So it's not just an ICT.
Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. I
I
hope
hope
Shola.
next, I hope Tola is happy with that.
Yes, yes. All right. So Shola, you can hit us on the chat to tell us if that answers your question. I do hope it did. So Ugo's question actually brings forward one of our questions that we actually intended to ask, and it's asking: so you were kept at night, kept awake at night, just to keep running the business. So how did you keep at distance without giving up during these very difficult years?
How what?
How
Sorry.
did you keep going on even with all these difficulties? I think he's referring to the fact that, like you said, you had the lightning that kept you awake whenever
Yes,
it was.
yes. I actually heard that. I was just thinking. I think first of all, it's the passion you have for what you are doing. First of all, everybody is advised to engage in what they like doing. You know, if you like to work for somebody, the staff of somebody, so be it. You know, if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be an entrepreneur, which means you are an entrepreneur, but you want to work under, so you don't want to take the lead. So, and then the discipline. You know, I was passionate, or I'm passionate about engineering, electrical, to be specific. You know, unfortunately, as you grow in the ladder, you tend to now grow into managerial position that take you a little bit from that your passion. You know, but once you are doing what you enjoy, I think it will keep you going. You don't feel the drag as much as when you are not doing something that you have a passion for. So having a passion for that, for what you're doing, is key.
Awesome. Thank you so much, sir. And I think we have a question from Oyinka Teriba, and Oyinka is asking, R&D is really expensive. How has access to the capital market impacted CWG's ability to raise and mobilize capital?
Yeah, R&D is expensive, you know, but what normally, I'll start with that. What most organizations will normally do is to allocate a percentage of whatever they make to R&D, you know, be 2%, 2.5%, 5%, whatever. But it's based on what you make is what you plow back, you know. And but that's for mainly organic growth. You have a business, you are growing your business a step at a time, you know, gradually. Access to capital market, we raised some money that was just before we did some private placement, just before we listed. And the market will always look at what you are doing, and what you are doing, and what the future lies there for you. Beyond the money raised at the exchange, we also had a private equity firm invest in us. In fact, they approached us. You know, obviously, what they did was that they studied the company for a while, looked at what they're doing, looked at the sustainability of what they're doing before they approached us. In fact, initially, we didn't quite know what we'll do with the money. And the private equity we eventually settled for was actually the second one. The first one, we refused. We said we didn't need the money. But because what happened was that it depends on the business you are doing. The couple of businesses you are doing that you can finance by short term. You have short term, you have long term, then you have what do you call it? Patient capital, you know, which is what I'm talking about. For the short term financing, it wasn't more of an issue, you know, especially if you're doing something like either project financing or PO, the financing, because the business is already there. The bank is saying what you do with the money. All you are saying is, let me do it. When the customer pays, I'll come and pay you, where you don't have things like advance payment. So because of that, we were doing a lot of that. We're doing a lot of short-term financing to drive our operations. As far as I don't know how it is now with the interest rate that we have now, which is ridiculous. Then it was also high, but not as high as it is today. As far as the business you are going to do can cover your interest payment, and you make there's something at the end of the day. But once the bank will always look at what you are doing, and I don't think it's that difficult. But the public will not give you money for R&D.
Interesting.
I mean, you can raise money.
Yeah, that's true. That's very true. You can raise money for other things you want to do, new options you want to break into, but not say I'm raising money for R&D.
Yeah, it can be for investment.
Yeah.
Because by the time you are going out to raise money, you know what you want to do.
You
probably do your there's a story. You have a story.
There's a story behind what you are raising money for.
Yeah, once you have that, you should be able to raise your money to the market. I see a lot of companies now raising, what do you call it, CP, commercial papers and things like that. They're already running, they know what they're doing. The history is there, the track record is there, the trend is there, so it's not a problem.
Now that's interesting. All right, so we are turning the last bend now, and it's been very interesting discussing with you, sir. Jumoke has a question for us. We'll keep that. Okay, let's just take it. So she's asking, maybe just take that in a minute or two. What challenges have you faced as a public entity? What pitfalls should businesses seeking public listing watch out for? So it's
okay. Yeah. The challenges you normally have is, one is reporting. Okay. The strict reporting timelines. If you don't report on time, you are fined. There are strict guidelines that you must follow in terms of reporting. Of course, for every quarter, you send out your forecast for that quarter. You send it to the exchange, and then of course, when your report comes out, you also send it to the exchange, and it has to be timely. It's not when you want. You will be fine. Yes. And then, so at times, it might affect certain decisions. And then, of course, you can't just come out and announce something that you are doing anyhow. You need to go to the exchange first. Tell them what you want to announce, the information. The whole idea is to make sure the information that comes into the market is available to everybody at the same time, so that some people don't have the information. They'll buy your shares before you do X, Y, Z. So there are restrictions. So such restrictions is what forced Michael Dell to buy back his shares. Michael Dell listed, and at some point in time, he bought back the because he was saying that the exchange was slowing him down in taking decisions on the
decisions. Yes.
Okay, so one is that reporting and the flexibility to do certain things. What else?
Yeah, she was asking what are the pitfalls one needs to look out for if one needs to list on the exchange.
Pitfalls, well, I say for me, there's some people see control, but control is not a problem. Because once you list, of course, you have those AGMs where people that have bought 1 shares, 2 shares, you have people owning shares of like 10 naira, 1 share. They're coming to make noise at your AGM. But it's interesting. It's not actually a problem. The pitfall, I think, is just that flexibility at times in doing certain things without recourse to the exchange in terms of what you want to do. And of course, the way you operate, dividend payouts and things like that, you have to be formal. If for a private company, you can just do whatever you want to do. You can decide to wake up, declare dividend amongst your shareholder. Maybe you have 4 or 5 shareholders or 2 or 3. You can just decide on what to do, but as a public company, you must just operate according to the rules of the game. So once that is okay by you, and for a very small, for an owner company, maybe you might make some difference. But once you have about 4 or 5 shareholders from inception, I don't think it doesn't make more difference where you have already imbibed a corporate governance mindset to operate in a certain way. So it won't make so much difference to you. Jumoke, I don't know whether that.
Yeah, so Jumoke, maybe let's hear from you. We hope that has answered your question.
I think there was a follow-up question I saw.
Okay. It's okay. Did you earlier? Okay. She's asking earlier decision to list on NASDAQ.
Yes, it did.
Ability to navigate listing.
Yes, it did. Like I said, because from day one, we had a board. Okay. We had the board, and with that board, we started putting in a lot of things in place. Government. I mean, we didn't have a corporate governance. There's a book we have now. We didn't have it then as we do have now, but we started doing a lot of things in a certain manner. Again, I don't know whether I'll bring in ethics into it. They say if you want to go alone.
If you want to go fast, go alone.
Go alone, but if you want to go far. So from day one, I think we ran a shop that was transparent and fair to everyone. And that will make you do certain things, put certain policies and government and corporate governance policies in place. So we started putting those things in place from day one. We started having our board meetings, no matter how informal or unstructured it was, but we started having it from day one up to this. So we did a lot of things. You can say because of NASDAQ, but because of the way we also set up from day one, we started doing all those things.
Awesome.
So I think it helped in the listing. There was nothing. There was nothing extraordinary, for listing. You go through the financial due diligence and the other due diligence. You go through the process. So it didn't make much difference to us because a lot of those things were already in place.
Thank you so much, sir. All right, so I think I'm going to bunch this last set of questions together because we're almost out of time, and it's for emerging leaders. Maybe I will start with this very simple question, sir. I see your doctorate degree is ongoing. Is education a scam?
Sorry, what did you say?
I asked if education is a scam because I think we hear that a lot among our younger folks these days. So is education a scam?
Is education a scam?
Yes.
Of course, it is not. It is not. But the thing is that there's this struggle between formal education and informal education.
Yeah.
You can have people, but in education, you have people who go and they get trained. They get trained in certain areas and they become very knowledgeable in that area. But without the foundational education, you can't go beyond that. So there's a difference that you begin to do something. If you are somebody that sews, you learn how to do it and you go ahead, you continue doing it. But if you have a broad education, I think it helps you. It's a very interesting question. Personally, my MBA provided the foundation through which I successfully transited from a core engineer to being someone with a better business orientation. Okay, I studied engineering. It gave me a better business orientation. The MBA expanded my worldview generally, and the approach was analyzing business problems and taking informed decisions. That's another thing it does for you, both for a short and long term. So it gives you that ability to analyze, and then you take a decision based on that. The finance and HR part of it prepared me for my subsequent COO role, having read engineering in my first edition. Then the DBA further takes you into the application of certain concepts and underlying theories, supporting those concepts. It further takes you into the world of research, the process of gathering and analyzing data to create new knowledge or to better understand existing language. So DBA course, in brief, significantly enhances a person's business knowledge and research skills, preparing them for higher level leadership roles by equipping them with the ability to critically analyze complex business solutions, make strategic decisions and contribute to the field of study. It's more narrow in this case, because we are just trying to focus on one particular, that's the research part of it, but the theory part of it also enlightens you and broadens your view of things, effectively elevating their professional standing and capabilities within the business. You get to achieve a domain expertise in the narrow fields of study. You still through a DBA course, I started hearing things like worldview. Your world, the view you have impacts or influences how you see things.
So how you see things.
I never thought about that before. So all those underlying education really helps you. So it's better to have a broad view of all these things, and then you can still be trained. That is skilled training in a particular thing. That's a different thing altogether.
All right, I think I have a hand up. Let's see who's that. Okay, I can't see that now, but maybe when I get that, if I still have, okay. Let me see. All right, Oluwaseyi Olakorede. Yes, for a minute or two, just quickly your question or contribution. Please unmute and speak to us.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much. It's been a very insightful time with Dr. Philip. I just wanted to, Sir Philip, I'm crowning your DBA ahead, and God willing to turn out.
I was going to correct you.
Also, what counsel you will give to people in leadership when they have to multitask on roles, or also how to deal with that imposter syndrome, probably as you gave us the insight in your own trajectory, moving from the CEO to the CEO and to the chairman positions in management.
Sorry, I didn't quite get the question very well.
I think multitasking was part of what he was trying to say. Then also is it imposter and position challenge that people deal with? Shay, I don't know if I put it.
All right, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, multitasking.
I think one other thing he asked, if I may, is that how do you deal with having to transit? How did you transit between being a COO to becoming a CEO and ultimately becoming a chairman? Did you have to deal with imposter syndrome, or what advice would you give people who are trying to navigate such transitions in their career?
Okay, first of all, what is the imposter syndrome?
I think that feeling of inadequacy when people see you as high up there, but you keep questioning your own capabilities and wondering whether you can deal with it.
Okay. Okay. First of all, I didn't transit from the COO to CEO before being the chairman. I retired as the COO. Me and the CEO retired at the same time, and we decided to, because of the change in the model, we decided to hand over to younger people with guidance on the board. We are both on the board and still control what happens from the board. I would say that even the COO role, I find it was more tasking than leading the board. Because leading the board, what you do is to provide strategic, you and your team, to provide a strategic direction for the company to run. And then of course there are major issues that come to the board that we need to take a decision on. And by virtue of having been in the trenches in the company, you know, it makes it easy. We understand the business very well. We understand the company very well. So it makes it a little bit easier to steer what happens at the board level. But at the board level, what we do is basically to manage interest, focus on the strategy, you know, make sure the company is going in the direction that you feel is best to have it go, and then monitor what happens along the way. And of course, manage the interest of all the stakeholders, both internally and externally. You know, there are tough decisions or choices to make, but I think I lost most of my hair as a CEO.
All right, thank you, sir. So we're actually out of time, but it's been an interesting time with you, and I just wish we could go on and on and on. But just your final words as we part this morning. And I want your final words to also have a word for our emerging leaders. Share with them what mindsets they need, both from a personal growth perspective, from a professional growth perspective, for the journey ahead of them. Thank you.
Okay, just what mindset of practices? Simple. I think this is the straightforward answer there in terms of the mindset. It's simple. The mindset that the customer is king in whichever area you find yourself, I think is applicable almost everywhere. The customer is king. Number one, then you need to differentiate the company you are working for by service. You know, people talk about service excellence, but at times we don't really understand what service excellence is.
Yes.
So, but it has to be service excellence as defined by the customer, based on what the customer wants. You know, so one is mindset. One is okay. I'll go back. First is that you need to have the passion for what you are doing. You are happy doing what you are doing. Then you have to have that mindset that the customer is king. Then you need to differentiate the company by service excellence. There are so many things that you can use to differentiate the company. There's cost, differentiation by cost, differentiation by whatever. But there are a couple of other differentiations, but service excellence, I believe, even if you're offering a good pricing and things like that, still focus on your service excellence as defined by the customer. And then, of course, positioning yourself within the organization or the individual as a trusted advisor to the company, to the customer. I will explain that. For example, I'll use the banking industry as an example. At positioning ourselves as a trusted advisor. A lot of the CIOs, for example, they're under a lot of pressure. You know, they're under a lot of pressure in doing the things, in providing services to their internal customer, which is the bank.
Yeah.
Because what happens in IT is when everything is going well, nobody says anything. When something goes bad, that's when the roof.
Everybody falls back.
So the CIOs are always under a lot of pressure. So if you go in as a service provider and you position yourself as a trusted advisor is you handle that CEO so that the CEO will look good. Will look good in front of the CEO of the financial institution, any other company for that matter. You know, if you're able to do that, advise them, look at what they're doing even before they get there. Advise them, and if you're able to do that, then you make a lot of inroad. You need a lot of inroad into your business. You know, you really grow and sustain your business very well.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you to everyone that has been able to join us today for today's session. It's been an engaging last 1 hour, 35 minutes with you, Sir Philip. I want to thank you for the time and for sparing us with all the ideas that have led to where your organization and the people you lead are today. I think vital points you have told us is the people matter, leadership matters, and that having measure of what you are doing is very critical. And we cannot take away the fact that you have also shared with us that the customer is key and differentiation should be based on what is value to the customer. And finally, that our mindset to be happy every day with what we do will take us the whole hog. Thank you very much, sir, for your time. From the Triad, we are very appreciative of what you have done for all of us today. And for every one of you that have joined us, stayed from beginning till the end, and those that weren't able to, we say thank you. Thank you for the questions. Thank you for the thumbs up. Thank you for the laughter. We saw a lot of those emoticons. Thank you, and thank you. Thank you.
First, I would like to close by adding that
All right.
learning is a continuous exercise. You know,
Yeah.
I appreciate all the people listening. Learning is a continuous exercise. It's never too old, as you can see from me, to learn. You know, so as part of that personal growth is to continue to learn. You know, there are different avenues through what you guys are doing in Triad. I think is key. I think is a commendable thing. Or somebody wants to do MBA or whatever, you know, but you are never too. It's never too late to go back and study. You know, learning should be a continuous thing throughout our lives. You know, it gives us the credibility that we need in doing the things that we do. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Sir Philip. And thank you, the Triad. Thank you, the Skepta Advisory. Thank you, everyone, for making today happen. And until we see you again in our next edition, continue improving, continue learning, and be the best that you can. Bye-bye from us.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Sir Philip. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, for having me.